For so many Americans, the border has now become a major issue. I don't know why it hadn't been a major issue in the past. Maybe people didn't really feel it in their own communities. They didn't really understand the potential damage of what an open border policy could do to this nation. And, for decades, I've been following the border since the Bush administration. I covered the border under President Bush and under every other president since. And I'm jaded now, as many of you are. I was writing stories under President Bush's administration about the failure to secure the border the appropriate way. But at least President Bush tried. At least they were doing something. It wasn't what back then I was like, it's not even close to being enough. I broke stories during that time that exposed Mexican military incursions into the United States as the Mexican military was assisting the drug cartels in moving narcotics into our country. I spent time inside Nuevo Laredo while the gun battles were going on just streets away from the people that I was interviewing. I talked to people that lived inside some of the colonias in Mexico and inside some of the small towns and cities that described their lives as being imprisoned. They were prisoners inside their own communities. I talked to Americans who lost their lives and children who traveled on La Bestia and came all the way from Central America. And this is decades ago, folks. And described the horrors of what they saw on their journey to America, to be reunited with family members that had abandoned them and then would abandon them here. And many of those kids came here, and just like the undocumented migrants that we're seeing today and those children, they come here looking for their parents or their loved ones, only to realize that their moms had remarried and had children, or that their dads had disappeared or are in prison or just aren't in the same place they thought they were, and they never see them again. And now we're seeing our own country falling apart, our children dying of fentanyl, other children being raped, the White House opening the border so much so that we've been able to document over 360 known alleged connected terrorists, however you want to call it, that have come into this country. And that's what we know about. That doesn't include the 2 million known gotaways. We don't even know who those people are. What we do know is that children are dying. Our children being brought into this country, that we have a surge of over 50,000 Chinese male illegal migrants that have come into this country posing a national security threat. We have Russians, we have people from Afghanistan, we have people from Syria, from all over the world that cannot be vetted whatsoever, and they are living amongst us. We are watching the fabric of our nation being torn apart. We're watching global elitists play games with us, and we have a president who could care less about you, the American people, and a White House that can care less about you, the American people. And for that matter, people that are senior members of our intelligence apparatus, our military apparatus, our FBI, that could care less about you, the American people, because they have a different agenda underway. I wish all of them could look into the eyes of Lake and Riley's family, Jocelyn and Gary's family's eyes, after they just found out that their beautiful little 12-year-old daughter had been gang raped before she was murdered under a bridge by two illegal migrants, illegal aliens, whatever you want to call them, monsters who came into this country were not properly vetted, were released into our communities only to kill this beautiful child, just like what happened with Lake and Riley and so many others, to have the government say, oh, well, whatever. Sorry. The murderer and the murderers have had accomplices. Those accomplices are in the White House because they're not even trying to shut the border down. Their entire policy was to open the border to our adversaries. They are responsible for these deaths and many, many more deaths to come. Is this the government that you want? Is this the one that you trust? It's the one that you put in office? The one that you said, hey, I sleep great tonight that the Biden administration is in office? Is this what you want for the future of this amazing nation? Because if it is over. You are watching the downfall of an empire. And it is happening at rapid speed now. Rapid speed. And our adversaries are just fighting. They're gritting their teeth and getting ready to come in and take us down. This, what is happening right now, is the biggest, and I've said this over and over again, it is why I have focused almost my entire career on the national security of this country at the border. And by the way, the only reason I went to a war zone and put my life on the line every single day that I was there, believe me, I did not stay in the green zones. I went out with our troops. I went out on the front lines, even though my heart was racing inside my chest and I was waiting for a bomb to go off underneath that Stryker and the Humvee and the MRAPs. Every single time I went out with our troops. I did that because of what I saw on the border nearly 20 years ago. What do you think is going through my mind right now? When I talk to sources in Afghanistan and Iraq and in Pakistan and in other places in the world where they are saying to me, hey, are you guys even paying attention to what's going on here? Because we have terrorists training and preparing to target you, the United States. And guess what? And your assets, Western assets overseas, and your allies. What do you think's going to happen if we are targeted again? We are targeted again, and the attack is bigger than September 11th or the same as September 11th. What do you think is going to happen to your future? Almost my entire life has been wrapped up in war. We get attacked again. We're not staying here at home, folks. We're back out on the battlefield. But instead, our government has opened up our border. We've never seen this before. Never in the history of America have we seen an administration with the dereliction of duty that we have seen under the Biden administration. It is the reason why I am a partner with a great team, Border 911 Foundation, to go out and educate the American public about what is happening. What is happening to your children, to your community, to your country. But those of us who are fighting the fight, we need you with us. And that is why I have Tom Homan on the show today. We are not going to cry. We are not going to sit back and just wash our hands of it. We're not going to watch television. We're not going to shut off the news and pretend like things are not happening, because God help us. Little Jocelyn could have been any one of our children. Your child. Can you imagine what it was like for her under that bridge? Can you imagine what it will be like when terrorists succeed in targeting one of our malls, one of our buildings? What is that going to be like? What is that day, that moment going to be like if we haven't done anything to fight back and protect our nation? I have Tom Homan coming on with me in a little bit. First, and you do not want to miss this interview with Tom. He was a former head of Immigration and Customs Enforcement. He is doing everything to fight what is happening in our country now. And we need you. We desperately need you to join in on that fight. But first, Goldco, are you concerned about the endless flood of illegal immigration at the southern border? How about the $1 trillion being added to the national debt every 100 days? Folks, it's no wonder thousands of hardworking, patriotic Americans, including myself, are learning how to protect and diversify their retirement savings with precious metals. That's why I've partnered with the top-rated company, Goldco. Listen to this current offer. You can get a free 2024 wealth protection kit and learn how to possibly get, listen to this, $10,000 in bonus silver as a listener of this show while supplies last. Protect your family's financial future and freedom. Get started today at saralikesgold.com or call 855-823-GOLD. Get your free gold kit from Goldco and learn how to get $10,000 in bonus silver. Sara, S-A-R-A, likesgold.com or 855-823-4653. That's Sara, S-A-R-A, likesgold.com or call 855-823-GOLD. I'm grateful to have my very, very, very good friend. I call him the boss, Tom Homan, on the show today. He is the former acting director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement under President Trump, and he is a member and founder of Border 911 Foundation, which we are a part of. And, you know, I'm so happy to have you on the show today, Tom, because I can't imagine a more serious crisis in America than what we're facing at the border. Tell me I'm wrong.
Oh no, it's the biggest. Look, this is a national security vulnerability, a huge proportion. And let me say, look, I really appreciate being your friend. For your listeners, you need to know that when I came to Fox News, Sara was already there. Me and Sara collaborate a lot,
right,
on what we talk about on Fox. So we're constantly in communication. We help each other out. She may have access to information I don't, and vice versa. So I cherish our friendship, and I think together we make a stronger team, and I think it makes Fox a better network because we bring in the facts every day. But yeah, look, you heard me. I've been screaming about this for 3.5 years. Matter of fact, Sara, if you remember, I wrote an op-ed on foxnews.com 6 months before the election. Mm-hmm. 6 months before the election. I said in Fox, and I forget what the title was, but the first sentence of my op-ed was, if Joe Biden becomes president, we lose the border. And that was, it didn't, it don't take a border expert to come to that conclusion. All you had to do is look at what he was saying during the campaign. He's going to end ICE detention.
Right.
He's going to put a moratorium on deportations. He's going to give free health care. He's going to have an amnesty. When you make them type of promises to the whole world, they're going to come.
Well, and he did that within weeks of taking over the presidency. This was a deliberate policy to open the border wide up. It is a globalist ideological policy, and it's one that this administration never even really apologizes for. I mean, we've seen with the recent deaths, and I mean, you know what? We've seen problems like this, never to this extent, never this exacerbated, like with the deaths that we've seen, the 12-year-old girl that was found floating in a bayou near her Houston home. The fact that we've seen Laken Riley, attacked, the amount of terrorists that have entered our country. And I think you have the exact number. I know it's over 360 people associated with terrorist organizations that have been actually identified by the U.S. government. And there's no apology. There's no change in policy from this administration whatsoever.
Look, 3.5 years, they didn't do anything to slow the flow, right? We had historic numbers every month, historic, right? First year, 1.7 encounters, historic record. Then this next year, he broke his own record at 2.3, right? 2.4. Then the third year, he broke both of those records with a total encounters at 3.2. And, they haven't done a thing to slow the flow, and you're exactly right. I mean, when you open a border like that overwhelms the Border Patrol. You've been down there many times. I've been down there many times. On average, 70% of agents have been pulled off the line to process, make meals, change diapers, make baby formula,
Right.
make hospital runs, airport runs.
And by the
Just,
way, Tom, and you know this, put their lives on the line because there have been so
yeah.
many agents. I mean, well, we've seen skyrocketing suicides in the Border Patrol like we hadn't seen in the past. We see the morale down across the board in DHS, but also saving children. I mean, I remember even during COVID, how many agents, would be out there on the front lines, and if someone was sick, they didn't have a mask or something with them, they would be out there helping that person, not even thinking of themselves. And this administration turned on them.
And look, they're so overwhelmed, and you're exactly right. When they only got 30 or 40% on patrol, when they encounter a big group of 100 or 200 family units, think about that. One agent with 200 people entering the country illegally, it puts them at a very dangerous situation. And the cartels are taking advantage of less border choices on the line. They're moving more dope than they've ever run. They're moving more sex trafficking than they've ever done in the past. So they're going to fight. And that's why the assaults on border agents are up, because the cartels have been empowered by this administration. They're making more money right now than they've ever made, because we're making a record amount of money smuggling aliens, making a record amount of money sex trafficking women, and they're making a record amount of money moving dope. So these cartels are making a bunch of money, and they're not going to let a border patrol agent stand in their way. So these agents are at extreme risk on our southern border. But I'm keep foot stomping the fact. What has the administration done about it? Nothing. They've done one thing: send more resources to the border to process quicker and release quicker. Because if there's no overcrowding, there's nothing to see. There's no crisis.
Let me ask you this. And this is, I've been covering the border for many years. Like you've covered it much longer. Your career has been about the border and about our national security. For about 20 years, 20 plus years, I've been covering the border. I've never seen anything like this. The amount of people that are coming into our country, mostly single-age males, military age. We're also seeing very violent criminals coming into the country. Obviously, they can't be properly vetted. Do you think Venezuela and other nations, like I have heard from sources in Central America, have dumped out some of their asylums, some of their prisons? I mean, much like what we saw with Mariel in the 1980s with Cuba. I mean, like they are just, our adversaries appear to be taking advantage of this Biden policy to keep the border open.
You're exactly right. Look, the crime rate down in Venezuela is down in El Salvador, and you just got back from El Salvador, and that doing a great job. He's locking a lot of the criminals up. But guess what? These criminals won't be locked up in a prison in El Salvador. That forces those criminals to come here, where they can go to sanctuary city and be protected. Right? If you come to Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, any of these sanctuary cities, you can get arrested for a crime, get booked into jail, and the law enforcement not allowed to call ICE. So these criminals, they're fleeing these countries because no one wants to do time in El Salvador in prison. Come to the United States, go to New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, and if you commit a crime, you do your time, you walk out, because ICE isn't in the loop on any of these sanctuary cities. So this makes it even more dangerous for this country.
Yeah, President Bukele seemed kind of astonished at the fact that the Biden administration didn't want to put these guys away. Like, why would he want this border to be open? He says he has roughly around 80,000 people now imprisoned in El Salvador, that they have just, that sweep took in over 40,000. He's been putting people in prison. He has designated MS-13 as a terrorist organization. And that is how he is holding them. There's a lot of debate on how, Nayib Bukele made that move with his military to pick people up. Some human rights activists are saying, hey, you know what? There's some innocent people caught up in that sweep. But when he spoke to me and to the others that were with me privately, he was saying, and he's made this publicly, what else could we have done? These people are monsters. They're monsters. They kill babies. They do things that are so inhuman that he said it terrifies him to even know that people like this exist. And I think he was baffled at the fact that our own president and this administration is doing very little to protect the American people. Tell that to the parents of that 12-year-old girl, right? Who was gang raped, they believe, for more than 2 hours by two monsters, and then killed. I can't get that out of my head, like what this child must have gone through.
I did a show the other night, and I talked about that. First of all, the president of El Salvador, I think he's a rock star. The complete opposite of what we got with Joe Biden. But the last few hits I've done on TV, I remind people just that, look, this isn't just a death.
Right.
Okay, death, let's move. You need to think about what this person's last 30 minutes of life were like. A terrified little girl fighting for her life, having everything innocent ripped from her. What a nightmare. And think about her family and her parents, what they're going through. I mean, I'd be devastated if anything happened to either one of my boys. And these people have to live with this. So I want people to understand. Let's not just talk, okay, rape, dead, let's move on. No. Think about her, what she went through, and how terrified this little girl was. No one there to help her, trying to survive, getting brutally attacked. People need to understand that this is personal because of the way this was done, and it's happening almost once a week now. We're finding out about another one. But here's the problem. A lot of these we won't find out about, especially if they're in a sanctuary, because a person can be arrested for rape and they're here illegally, but when they get booked in New York, they'll be in jail and they'll be in there with rape. They're not calling ICE. They're not calling anybody to verify their citizenship. They're not even releasing the nationalities. I mean, all the media in Houston, except for Fox, all the media in Houston is saying 2 men attacked and killed this girl. So we don't know how much alien crime is going on out there because these sanctuary cities won't track it.
That's such an important point, and you're absolutely right. And I do think about that. And, my youngest child is 11 years old. She's a child. I mean, she's just a little girl, and I can't even imagine. And I try not to, but I think about that little girl. I think about my daughter, and what can we do, Tom? I mean, look. Border 911, we are out there educating people on the crisis of the border, really informing them about what is happening with the proxy war with China and the cartels making billions, hundreds of billions of dollars off of sale of narcotics and humans in this country. But when we get a new president in office, I just don't see this administration making that decision, making the right choice to shut the border down. All the president has to do is do what the last president did: shut the border down and stop the flow of people, stop catch and release, remain in Mexico. What can you do?
Okay,
what can you do when we get back?
Border, just be clear, Border 911 is a 501c3c4.
Right.
We don't support any candidate, and we don't favor one president over another president. So when we go around talking to American people, what we're doing, educating them on the facts.
That's it.
Of what's happening. So they make a smart decision when they see who wants to be the president. But speaking outside of Border 911, again, these comments are Tom Homan, former ICE director. What can we do? We can get President Trump back in office because he had policies that were most effective. He proved his policies worked. Illegal immigration down a 45-year low. And I'm scared to death if he doesn't win, we won't be able to fix this. Right now, the damage has been done the last 4 years. It's going to take a decade to get back to where we were. We can secure the border pretty quickly because we already have the policies that were proven effective. But to get normal again, to get to the place where we were, it's going to take almost a decade. But if Joe Biden wins another 4 years, I don't think we can fix it. It's just too much damage. Right now, we have millions of illegal aliens in the country. Everybody knows we're not going to remove millions, first year or 2 years. It's going to be a long process. So, not speaking of Border 911, speaking as Tom Homan, ICE director, that's what needs to be done. As far as Border 911 is concerned, the reason we're a C3 and C4 is so we can get out there and talk to American people about the facts, not support any candidate, but give them the facts so they make their own decision.
Well, the facts aren't even being delivered by the media. And you brought up a really good point that a lot of the media just reported this story of this horrific rape, which, by the way, took place just 2 hours away from my home. 2 hours away from my home. And I have a daughter the same age, and I'm talking to people in my community here in Texas, and we are just like astonished at how the media didn't even mention that these were Venezuelan illegal aliens, that they had come in. There were very few people that reported it. Jenny Terra, who used to work for me, reported that in the New York Post. We had, stories on it on Fox, but the AP didn't talk about it. I specifically saw an AP story that left that whole fact out of the story. Can we just, the American people, they understand there is a massive problem because they're seeing it in their communities. Look, there's a CBS poll, and YouGov found that the majority of Americans would be in favor of the U.S. government starting a new national program to deport all undocumented immigrants currently living in the U.S. illegally. 62% of Americans support that, 88% of Republicans, and they found 53% of Hispanics living in the United States. And I could say I'm one of them, half, Cuban. On my mom's side, I got my entire family, up in arms about this border crisis situation. They want to see it end. Can someone else do that? Can a policy be put in place to at least vet all those single males that came in and say, hey, you got to get out, or is it already too late? Did Biden just already give in? With his new sham border policy.
Well, look, first of all, I think you and I both know the vetting policy is insufficient because we don't have criminal information from people in El Salvador. And a lot of these third world nations have an NCIC. And you're talking about 57,000 Chinese males, military age, coming across the border. I consider that more of a national security threat, not so much a public safety threat. But 57,000 Chinese don't leave China without the concurrence and the assistance of the Chinese government. That just don't happen. And we got over 30,000 Russians under Biden. So look, this is a huge national security issue. So vetting is insufficient to get around the vetting. And look, we got great intelligence community. You know that. You work in the intelligence community, but they're not perfect.
Right.
They failed. They're really good, but they missed a couple marks on 9/11. They missed it, and on some of the Afghanistan they missed it, and they're not perfect. But the way you get around this is two ways. Number one, you end catch and release. The law clearly states under statute, if you enter the country illegally without proper documentation, you shall be detained. And when they're detained, agents have a time to do a deep dive investigative interview. Most bad guys, if you don't find a criminal record, once you interview them, you go through their pocket trash, you look through their luggage, addresses, phone numbers, and you can build a case and really uncover who they really are. But right now, since you're not detaining them, they're released under the Border Patrol's under instruction, process quick, release quick. They're not going through pocket trash. They're not going through their belongings. They're not questioning them other than name, date of birth, doing biographic information, kick them out the door. Now, they'll check them against the FBI screening database, but you and I both know most terrorists in this world aren't in any database.
Correct.
Because unless they were encountered on a battlefield, or unless they're part of a T3 or a joint terrorism investigation, or they're somehow associated with somebody through wiretaps, we don't know who most terrorists even are, so they're going to call it blank. The best thing we can do is stop, catch, and release, detain, and do the Remain in Mexico program. Keep them out. They're really asylum seekers. They're really escaping fear and persecution in the homeland. They can wait in Mexico if they're really escaping fear and persecution, right? So that's what we need to do. We need to get back to Trump policy to help. And look, I'll say it right now. All these young women that have been murdered recently and sexually assaulted, I don't think that would have happened under President Trump. I can't say for sure, but most likely. Why do I say that? Because we didn't have catch and release. We ended it. And because we had the Remain in Mexico program. And because if you look at the people of terrorist watch list in 4 years, we had 11 total, 13 if you want to count the calendar year, which Joe Biden owns some of that. Compare 13 to 378. They arrested more people on terrorist watch list last week than we arrested in 4 years. So it is a national security crisis, a huge proportion of public, and that's my main talking point. Now we're going to talk. I don't care what your opinion is on illegal immigration.
Right.
When you cause a crisis that big over once the Border Patrol, it creates a public safety issue, it creates a public health issue, it creates a national security issue. Because those who want to come to this country do us harm.
I did tell you, I absolutely believe, based on the sources that I have been speaking to, both in Central America and in the United States, those within the intelligence community and those who are aware of what's going on, have already told me that it's too late, that the Biden administration opened the floodgates that there is enormous chatter overseas and in the United States, which is what led obviously to those Tajiks being picked up in the United States, but that there is significant chatter to say that our nation is an imminent threat, an imminent risk of another massive terror attack. And I spoke to sources recently in Afghanistan. They said the same thing, that President Biden's withdrawal from Afghanistan led to a large number of training camps again and insurgencies working with the Taliban, and especially all the weapons we left behind. And our nation is directly at risk. Whoever, well, it would have to be, the choice would be President Trump because there's nobody else now, will have an enormous burden on his hands cleaning up this mess that Biden has made. And like you said, my fear is that what if he is back in office? I mean, this could certainly mean a change in America that's so significant, we'll never be able to get her back. I'm going to leave the last word for you. I know you're going to be heading out soon. What can Americans do? What can we do, Tom, to fix this problem on a community level even?
Every speech I give, I tell people my goal when I leave here, either you're pissed off like I'm pissed off or your heart's broken because of the tragedies that's happening to American families all across this nation. And because of what this administration purposely did to our border. You got to understand, I've worked for 6 presidents, starting with Ronald Reagan. Every president I worked for took steps to secure the border. Even Obama and Clinton took steps. They understood you can't have national security if you don't have border security. Right. We need to know who's coming, what's coming in, and why it's coming in. No one did more than President Trump. His success was unprecedented, of course, but Joe Biden's the first president in the history of this nation who came into office and unsecured the border. I mean, what commander in chief unsecures the border? So people, call your congressman, Republican, Independent, Democrat. And I called the Republicans the other day on national TV. I said, you know, there's Republicans out there that failed to vote to impeach Alejandro Mayorkas. Now look what we got, because you were weak. You didn't do your job. And I called out Speaker Schumer of the Senate. He has H.R. 2, right, immigration. And we want to talk about, presidents keep saying the most stringent border policy. Republicans said no, and Trump told them vote no. Look, because we had H.R. 2 that we know works, because it was Trump's policy. We know that worked. Why would we negotiate against known success? But they won't bring H.R. 2 to the floor of the Senate, so they're hiding that from the American people. So you need to call your representatives. And if they're Republicans, don't let them tell you that, well, you know, we don't control the Senate, but you control negotiations. You don't have to legislate any legislation to give them a win. You can say, you know what, we're boycotting all legislation until you do at least one thing to slow the flow and protect America. You want to send billions to Ukraine, you want to send billions to Israel, which I'm not against, but how about our borders? How about the American safety? Because I remember Speaker Johnson said no money will be given to Ukraine and Israel unless we get money for the border. It didn't happen. Right, so they need to stand up. They need to grow a backbone and fight this really hard. And in closing, look, I appreciate you having me on. If people, now let's flip the script here real quick. Right. Border 911 Foundation is a 501c3. We also have Border 911 Inc. Waiting on a C4 designation.
Right, and I'm so excited about being a part of this. I mean, I for everyone out there, you know how much I love this nation. Tom loves this nation. Derek Maltz, Victor Avila, Rodney Scott, former head of the Border Patrol, and we together, all of us, and Jason Jones from Newsmax, all of us have dedicated ourselves to this project, to this foundation.
And to be clear, just be clear, because there's people that hate what we're doing and they attack us every day in the media. Everything I've said on this podcast is from Tom Homan, ICE director, because I have an opinion, a political opinion. But now we're talking about Border 911. Right. Please go to border911.com. Again, we're non-political. Even go there and look at the data. We keep data up to date every month. You can see what the numbers really look like, and you can see some testimonials. You can see what we're doing. We got a lot of venues planned. We're going to go out as a team. Sarah just mentioned all the members. We're going to go across this country and meet with local organizations, meet with neighborhoods, meet with, people that are, everyday Americans, and explain to them, here are the facts on the border. Let's separate facts from fiction. Here's what's happening on the border. Now you need to make the decision what your next move is going to be. So again, non-political. We just give them the facts. We just had a great event in Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago was amazing.
Actually, you go to border911.com and look at, we had a huge write-up by a media outlet, what we did in Chicago, about what a great event it was. I'm proud. Look, I can't think of a better team of experts on Border 911. Everybody but Sara worked the front lines as a law enforcement officer. Sarah's been invested for 2 decades.
Right.
So she's embedded with the military. She's embedded with Texas DPS. She's done a lot of work against the criminal cartels. Now then the other 5 members are frontline guys who actually did the job of immigration enforcement and drug enforcement. So I always brag about this. Border 911 is a team of experts, not because they read a book, not because they took a college course. They did it because they did it. They're in the fight. They're on the ground. They were down there. Sara, you spent thousands of hours down there. You get it. And so that's why I put this team together. I want to bring real life operators into this program to speak about what they've experienced when they were on the ground, the people they talk to, the aliens they talk to, and present a true factual presentation. And that's what we're doing. I'm proud of this organization. I look forward to keep moving ahead on that.
I absolutely agree with you, Tom, and I'm going to continue to do the same. And it's the reason why I, stay in touch with my sources in the South Asia, in the Middle East, in Central America, and try to get those facts to the American people. I think the most important thing is that we're aware of what's going on around us, and that we can deliver the facts to you, to the audience, and go to your communities and have you be aware of what's happening, because sometimes people just don't know what's going on until someone kind of gives them that guidance. And then they say, wow, look, I can see what's happening here in my community. We need all of you to be in this fight with us to save our nation. I know that you are leading this fight, Tom. Thank you so much for everything that you do. For me, it is an honor to serve with you as a team member of Border 911. And I promise you, I give 150%. I love this nation as much as you do, and I will fight to the bitter end to save her. She is all we've got, and we've got to do it. No one else will. I think all of us together.
Hey, look, let me say this. You've been an integral part of Border 911. I'm humbled that you're a part of it, but in all honesty, let me thank you for what you're doing. You've been in this game for a couple of decades, right? And I see you out there fighting, whether you travel more than I do, which is amazing because I just did 1 million miles on American, and you travel all the time. I know you sacrifice an awful lot. I met your great husband, war hero. I know you got a family, and they've all sacrificed a lot, so you can tell the American people what's happening in this great country. So God bless you for the sacrifices you and your family make. And, stay in the fight. I know you're going to stay in the fight, but you're one of my heroes. I'm not doing TV. I watch you on TV because I can always learn something. So I appreciate what you do. Seriously, think about it. You're a mother. You got kids. You got a great husband. And you're out there doing what you can to save this country. So God bless you and keep up the good work.
Thank you so much, Tom. God bless you too, and have a great day. Save our nation.
Heading to the airport.
Yeah,
Take care.
You got it. When Mike Lindell first launched MyPillow, remember, it was solely a solution for one problem. Well, with the dedication of his team, they've expanded their offerings to include hundreds of other products. And to spread the word that they will not be part of the cancel culture, they are hosting a $25 extravaganza, and it's going on now. Here's the current offer. If you use promo code Carter, that's CARTER, at mypillow.com to get the sale price and free shipping on any order over $75. Here are some of the products available for only $25. 2-pack MyPillow sandals, luxurious 6-pack towel sets, the brand new 4-pack dish towels, small dog beds, and beach towels. Other savings with promo code Carter are the Giza Dream bed sheets. Queen size only $59.98 with promo code Carter, CARTER, 60% off my slippers. Mattress toppers as low as $99.99. Go to mypillow.com or call 1-800-685-7221 today to get in on the $25 extravaganza today. Be sure to use code Carter to get the sale price and free shipping on your order over $75. Call 800-685-7221 or go to mypillow.com. promo code Carter. Again, mypillow.com, promo code Carter. Folks, please go to border911.com. That's border911.com to find out where we will be in the upcoming weeks and months. We'd love to see you at our events. It's so important. I can't even begin to tell you that it is you, the American people, that are going to save this nation. Every single one of you is just that important. I believe in this nation. I know you do too. Let's work together. We're part of the same family. We have the same nation to protect, and we're in the same fight. Thank you again, Tom, for being a part of the show. You're a great friend and somebody who I admire very much. If you're watching on Rumble or YouTube, give us a like and a follow, and send us to a friend if you like the show. Please make sure to subscribe to the Sara Carter Show on your favorite podcast app. We really appreciate it. Follow me on Truth at Sara Carter Official, on X at Sara Carter DC, and on Instagram at SCarterDC. God bless all the children in this nation and the ones that have been harmed, like little Jocelyn, like Lake and Riley, and so many others. May they be at peace with God now, and may we find these horrific monsters before they can target any more of our beautiful children. God bless you. God bless our great nation, and God bless the great state of Texas.